At 0-4, the chances of the Carolina Panthers making the playoffs are essentially zero. All right. And yet, rather than admitting this, the Panthers seem to be sending a message out that, oh, no, we're in it. I mean, we are doubling down on Bryce Young, and we're trying to find a top wide receiver, as though that wasn't a priority this offseason that you could have addressed with some of the cap space that you already had. So it starts with Ian Rappaport talking about, being in the market for a wide receiver. And then out of the sudden, I'm going to present this on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, from Jordan Schultz, Gridiron, who I don't know if he was reading direct from a text message, but I thought it was pretty fascinating.
The Panthers, according to sources, are in the market not only for a receiver, but a top-tier one. What this comes down to is twofold. Number one, they know they don't have enough weapons for Bryce Young. But number two, they believe so much in Bryce Young, the Panthers do, GM Scott Fitter, head coach Frank Reich, that they want to go all in, double down this season. The Panthers, according to
double down this season. What do you – there's so much wrong with that clip and where this is getting sourced from. There's so much wrong from it. We gotta get him a top wide receiver. Well, why didn't you think about that in this offseason? I thought the guys that you got were perfect for what you were trying to do with Bryce Young. All right, well, we're doubling down on this year at 0-4. It almost seems like the jig is up, Julian. People can see that they don't have faith in Bryce Young, that there might be buyer's remorse. And rather than wrecking his confidence, they're now trying to get the message out. No. There's nothing to see here. We're perfectly cool. Everything is fine, when it's actually giving you a Streisand effect. It's not fine. Now I actually have more questions around the Carolina Panthers.
I don't pretend to be one of those football scheme nerds. So I'm not going to sit here and try and tell you what the Panthers are trying to do on offense. I have no idea what they're doing, but it seems pretty clear whenever Bryce Young kills a play that the check is to the flat, which is predictable, as we saw Brady Quinn break down on the broadcast on Sunday afternoon, that loss to the Vikings. And I think it's pretty obvious that when you have a quarterback with 13 years of experience in Andy Dalton, like they did against Seattle, that Frank Reich, who's been in the league for a long time, is going to have a lot more confidence in what he's able to do than a rookie who would have been starting in his third game. So I don't think there's all that much to say about those situations. You're going to trust the guy who's been for 13 years, has seen it all, more than you're going to trust the guy who had started 2 games. So I think people might be making a little bit more of that, but maybe it's possible that Frank Reich wasn't a huge Bryce Young fan. But the whole, we need to be all in on a wide receiver now from the Carolina Panthers is comical, considering it was obvious to anyone that was paying attention and wasn't wearing Carolina black and blue glasses that the wide receiver core was going to be one of the worst in the NFL heading into this season. Just like it was obvious for anyone who pays attention to the team in West Raleigh that their wide receivers were also not going to be good. So I don't know how State fans are confused by that. I don't know how Panther fans are confused by that, because it was obvious. DJ Moore was the only good wide receiver that they had. And I don't even look at DJ Moore as a top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. And they decided that it would be easier to replace DJ Moore than it would be to replace Brian Burns or Derek Brown, which in theory, I agree with that. Defensive line, way more important than what you have on the outside. But still, you can't leave yourself completely bereft of talent on the outside like they did. Now, to not their credit, but I guess to give them the benefit of the doubt, this was a terrible wide receiver market. When people are talking about, hey, go out there, get Odell Beckham Jr. for what? Just to have the name value? What's he done in Baltimore so far?
Well, you had Nuke Hopkins, though.
Yes, Nuke Hopkins, who also went on a podcast and said, I don't want to play for rookie, but apparently wants to pay Ryan Tannehill instead. Right. And the Titans were going to give him the most money. The Carolina Panthers were going to give Nuke Hopkins that. When I saw that deal, wasn't surprised by it. When you saw the deal with Leonard Floyd, who would have been an obvious edge rusher for them, and you saw what he got compared to what they paid Justin Houston, clearly they were never in that market. They weren't trying to spend very big, where it's interesting. You talk about messaging. It felt like going into it that, yes, this is probably a 1-2 year rebuild, considering that the first 3 years of David Tepper as the owner with Matt Rule were completely wasted the last couple of seasons, to where you have guys that look like they're ready to compete, like Derek Brown and Brian Burns, and really most of the defense, if you don't count the fact they can't stop the run. But then offensively, it's a complete turnover, and you're trying to figure out, okay, do you have the right quarterback? Do you have the right guys around him? Which obviously is not the case. It's just funny to me, because it's clear that they didn't have the talent. And after 3 games, because that report came out before the game against the Vikings, they realized, oh, crap, we have awful receivers. We put Bryce Young in a terrible situation. We have to do something to fix it. I don't know what they can do to fix it, because it's a little bit early to make trades anyways in the NFL because trade deadline's not for another 27 days. But also, who's out there that the Carolina Panthers can bring in?
T. Higgins?
Yeah, well, that seems like that's something the Cincinnati Bengals are going to drag out until at least March, where they're going to probably slap the franchise tag on him. And once you get to March, they need to be trying to pay Jamar Chase anyways over him.
The reason why I bring that up is because it's pretty clear with the whatever health issue Joe Burrow is dealing with. He's clearly not right. The Bengals at this rate are not going to make the playoffs. So why would you, and Giglio's upset about this, why would you not just go ahead and start, what assets you want, do something with T. Higgins? But then that gets to the other part. All right, so you want to go get T. Higgins. What's that going to cost you? And what do you have if you're the Carolina Panthers?
Is even that good?
Well, there is that too.
He's good. He's better than what they have right now.
Yeah, I mean,
but which then gets to the central question: what are you willing?
Level player,
you've already given up the farm to get guys like Bryce Young. Now, what else do you have to give up? Are we involving Brian Burns at this point? No, you had your window with Brian Burns, man, and you decided not to do it. So, and then of course they gave away the game by not paying him when they had a chance to pay him. So the whole thing is just kind of a mess right now. And to Giglio's point with identity, I don't know what this Carolina Panthers team is supposed to be. At least with Steve Wilkes, we knew what it was about.
Running the football, talking about bringing the pride back to the Carolinas, protecting the bank. And I mean, it's borderline offensive to me who's actually from Charlotte to have like this Frank Reich welcome home story when Steve Wilkes actually is from here, went to West Charlotte, coached at Johnson C. Smith, played it out. Like Frank Reich is like from New York, went to Maryland. And yeah, he was here for a little bit. I went to high school with his kids. Cool. Like, come on, man. Like, that was ridiculous. The fact that they tried to sell that as a homecoming story. But the Burns thing, you traded away Christian McCaffrey, which made sense.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic player, but you don't need a running back at that salary, especially if you're going to be that bad. And then as soon as they got rid of him, because people have forgotten this, as soon as they got rid of him, they ran the football pretty doggone well with Chuba Hubbard and Deontay Foreman. You can find running backs. Yes, Christian's different, but you can find running backs. And I just find it comical the Panther fans and now hit me up being like, oh, we should have got rid of Christian. Weren't y'all the same people after you got hurt against the Bucs a couple years ago being like, screw this dude. He's getting paid too much. He's always hurt. Like, you're doing the same thing with J.C. Horn right now. And if J.C. Horn leaves and starts being healthy and balls out, you're like, I can't believe we got rid of J.C. Horn. Our general manager's an idiot. Like, pick a lane, folks. Like, you asking the Panthers to pick a lane? Can the fans pick one? Like, what do you want? You want Christian? Now you want to trade Brian Burns. So let's just start getting rid of all the good players on the roster. Let's just get rid of Burns at a premium position where, DJ Johnson, who's yet to play a snap you traded up for, he's going to come in and all of a sudden play at that level. No. Justin Houston hasn't done anything so far. Amari Barno, what's he done? Gross Matos is probably on his way out the door, even though he's looked pretty good so far. So you don't even have any prospect back there to hope would be good. And you're not in the first round next year. Okay, fine. You trade Brian Burns. You're guessing that the guy that's going to come in that you draft in the first round, I don't even know who the edge rushers that are coming out of college that people think highly of, because I just particularly do not care about the draft as a concept as a whole, whatever. But you think that guy's going to be better than Brian Burns? I just will never understand fans valuing picks over players. You have a proven commodity, and you want to go potentially get 2 picks and then hope that whatever receiver and whatever edge rusher in theory you bring in are going to be better than what DJ Moore and Brian Burns were here for you in Carolina. And the likelihood of that happening is not very likely, considering it's hard to find those kind of players. You have a 2-time Pro Bowler and then a guy who I think is a lot easier to replace, because DJ, again, I think he's just okay.
How does Bryce Young save this thing for himself? How does he avoid becoming Jamarcus Russell and Christian Ponder and somebody else? Because that it feels like that's how he's starting his career.
I don't know. It's not his job. It was the Panthers' job to put him in a situation to where he's not running for his life every Sunday. Now, that's not all on them. I don't think anyone saw the Ike Ekwonu regression, although the draft nerds out there did say that the issue coming to the draft with him was pass protection. He was great when they ran the football last year. The offensive line as a whole was great when they ran the football last year. We didn't really see a ton of drop back passing, and now this is an offense that wants to do that, as we saw 58 times with Andy Dalton a couple weeks ago with the Seahawks. It was up to them. And Christensen going down, that hurts. You knew Austin Corbett wasn't going to be around. Zavala's been awful. And the fact that they played up, he played with Icky at NC State. He practiced with Icky at NC State and played like 5 games.
5 games.
So like that was not ever a thing. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Can we take the 1-1 part of out of Bryce Young and try to evaluate him. Like when you go 1-1, I think everyone has an expectation of what you're supposed to be as the number 1 overall pick. Is it even possible to take that out of how we look at Bryce Young?
It's hard to, because really it's not just him going number 1 overall. It's the guys that went after him. It's looking at Anthony Richardson. It's looking at CJ Stroud. Like that's how these things always work. Like when Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston came out, you're going to compare those two their entire careers. When you saw Cam Newton come out, you're going to compare him. And I mean, the Panthers, also, a lot of fans compared him to Andrew Luck because that's the guy they thought they were going to get. You're going to compare the careers of the quarterbacks who come out in certain draft classes. So it's not just that he went number 1 overall. It's how does Stroud perform? And so far, from what I've heard, I don't watch the Texans. Apparently, he's played really well. Same thing with the with Indianapolis and Anthony Richardson. Like, I don't watch the Colts, but apparently he's done fairly well. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to people and be like, "Oh yeah, man."
No, Julian, you got to bring it down. I've been watching all 22 on CJ Stroud.
I'm too busy watching this mess. I don't have time. They play at the same time every week. They're playing at 1. The Panthers are playing at 1. I don't have double screens up.
You know what? I think we'll just close on that. Bless this mess. Bless this mess. That's what I need. I jokingly tweeted about this. Maybe Julian will Venmo you some money and I'll ship you one of those bridesmaid font signs that says "Bless this mess," and you can just put it right up next to Bank of America Stadium because that's what it is right now.
Yeah,
absolute dumpster fire. I mean, I'm one more loss away of wondering when is Frank Reich getting fired. He's only got what, a 2-year deal?
I don't know what the deal is, but I looked at it as he has 3 years to figure it out. But if they go 1-16, 2-15, I think David Tepper might be eating another salary. And have you heard the calls? People are already saying, "Hey, you had a perfect good head coach right here, and you let him go. You had a team that was around that guy, and you let him go. You had the real homecoming story, and you let him go."
Yeah. Bless this mess. Julian, man, we appreciate it. Locked On Panthers podcast. Go check it out. He's not going to bullshit you. He's not going to tell you, "I was breaking down Anthony Richardson plays."
It's Florida tape. They took the wrong guy.
Julian Council, tape eater, is going to tell you all about it. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right.